Okay, everybody. I apologize for being a little bit late. I had a little technical difficulty here, and that happens sometimes. So I hope everybody is um, coming in on time. Since I was a little late, I'm going to wait just a few minutes for a few more people to arrive. It looks like people are arriving now. So I'm just going to hang out here. I'm going to play a little music till we get going. I'm going to be starting in just a few minutes. I'll play a little music while we get going here. Oops. I believe I will prevail. The path is clear for me to follow. Shoot is. Seems to be. Let me share my screen. See if that works a little bit better. Playing the music. Okay. So I'm just going to wait a few more minutes until people join. But in the meantime, maybe you could just let me know. In the chat, if you can just let me know how you found out about the workshop. And I'll be coming back to you live in just a few minutes. So just type in the chat how you've heard about this webinar and maybe the city that you're calling in from. Well, it's 5 after, so I'm going to start. Okay, here we are live and in person. New Year's resolutions made easy. I am Lynn Tranchel, and I want to welcome you, Sarasota, Florida. Cool. Thank you for joining us. If you want to just type in the chat area how you heard about the webinar and where you're from. Sarasota, Florida, it's probably a little bit warmer down there than it is in Buffalo right now. So I am Lynn Tranchel, and I have 3 coaching certifications, which I will talk about. And this webinar is not the first time, but this year I started combining all 3 of my coaching certifications. And just so you know, we will be doing some exercises. So if you have some paper and a pen, and maybe even a 3x5 card, that would be great. And I know that since this is a webinar, it's going to be very easy to be distracted. So I would like you to turn your email notifications off, silence your cell phone, and if you're in a room where you can close the door, close that door, because we want to stay focused on what we're going to be covering today, and so that you get the most out of this experience. So if you're ready to start, just put your hand on your heart and say, I'm in, I am all in. And I'm not sure, it looks like there's a little bit of delay for me. There could be some delay for you depending on the speed of your internet connection. So if there is, just know that that's okay. I am going to be going back to the PowerPoint soon, but in the meantime, I just wanted to talk about how I arrived at this place in my life. It was a number of years ago, and my mother was dying of cancer. And I had just ended a significant relationship, and I was feeling lost and heartbroken. I'm sure there are some of you who can relate to that feeling of being lost and just not knowing what you want to do next or how to proceed. So what I did is I went back to my favorite go-to, which is really finding ways to have fun. So I went to a concert a friend of mine was playing at, and when I was there, I noticed that they were selling a lot of books that I had read, and it wasn't your average everyday book that they were selling in the bookstore. And I figured it would be a good place for me to be. Any place that sells books that I've read is a great place for me to be. So I started attending, and it happened to be a church. It was Unity Church in Buffalo. And the first 3 Sundays, I cried because of the sense of belonging that I felt there. And anybody that knew me back then would know that was not something that I would normally do. So over the years, I started taking classes and I started teaching classes. And I became a Q coach as part of a program that Unity was putting on. And I really loved it when people got it, you know, when that light bulb goes off and people see things differently and start doing things differently. So I wanted to do this in the secular world. I wanted to be able to coach people in the secular world. So I went out and I found a coaching program that allowed me to do that. And now I coach people into creating extraordinary results. And it just is such an amazing thing to do. So I know that there are some of you who are going to want to take this deeper. So at the end of the program, I am going to have an offer for those of you who want to learn more about this information and really build it and integrate it into your life. And also anybody that stays till the end, I have a free gift for you that is worth $147. So I know that it's no accident that you're here today, that if it wasn't for this pull for more becoming, you would just be sitting home with your feet up, continuing on with your life as it is. So I'm just going to check in. Oh, it's 85 degrees in Sarasota, Florida. Cool. That is wonderful. It's not quite 85 here, but it is warmer than it was a few days ago. So thank you for that. And if anybody else wants to just type in the chat how you heard about the webinar and where you're calling in from, that would be great. So I'm just going to switch us back over to the presentation now. Okay, so you are in the right place if you tried New Year's resolutions and failed. How many have done that? If you've given up on New Year's resolutions, if you've never had any New Year's resolutions, or if you just want 2017 to be better than 2016. And I'm going to be checking my notes during the course of this webinar just to make sure that I give you everything that I can, because that's what I'm here for, is give you everything that I can. Now, resolutions mean a lot of things to many people. And when you think about it, they're really goals. So do you have any goals written down for 2017 yet? And if not, you're in the right place again. So there are 3 main reasons why New Year's resolutions fail. One is insufficient desire. You think you need to make some resolutions and you really don't feel like doing them. Or you have insufficient believing power. There are people in your life that are telling you should be doing certain things and you just don't believe that you can do it. And then there's insufficient support. A lot of us need extra support to accomplish the things that we would really love to do. So the Talmud says that every blade of grass has an angel leaning over it that says, grow, grow, grow. And that blade of grass will push through cement, seeking the light. And this is the same power that's in you. That's what drew you here today, this longing for moreness. Life itself is seeking an ever freer, fuller, more expanded expression through you. This desire for more life is the most natural thing in the world. So how do we become like this blade of grass that pushes through cement to see the light? One of the ways that we can do that is to discover who we have come here to be. In this exercise, you'll need a piece of paper and a 3x5 card. So the way we do this is the cue card, which is from the cue coaching, which was my first coaching certification. So what I'd like you to do is take out a piece of paper, and on the left-hand column, write down the name of 7 people that you admire, up to 7 people. It could be people that are living or dead, somebody that you admire. It could be a fictional character. It could be your imaginal friend when you were growing up, imaginary friend. I recently put Harry Potter on my list because I love magic. So it could be somebody living or dead, somebody that you know or don't know. It's just somebody that you imagine, and it's up to 7 people. The first time I did this exercise, I had 3 names on the list. So in that left-hand column, I just want you to list up to 7 people that you admire. I'm going to try something new to see if I can put some music on while we're doing this. Okay. So again, we want to put the name of 7 people, up to 7 people that we admire on that list. So who has some names on that list? Would you like to share a name of a person you have on your list in the chat? And then once you have those names, next to those names, I would like you to list up to 3 qualities or attributes, the reason that you admire that person so much. And again, it's up to 3. The first time I did this exercise, I had 3 people and 1 attribute for each person. So just think about why you admire that person. What is it about that person that you admire? And write down, it's either a 1-word or it could be a 2-word phrase. And if you want, we have Susan says the author, creator of Hamilton. That's supposed to be a really great play right now. So what are some of the attributes that you selected for these people? If you want, just chat one of the attributes in the chat window. And now once you have those attributes, I want you to circle some that are repeats, or see if there's some that you can combine into 1 word or 1 phrase. For example, if compassion and caring is on your list, though you might consider those both compassion. What we want to do is we want to get this to a point where there is 7 words, so that you have 7 attributes or qualities. Hey, Joan, it looks like you're having trouble connecting. Are you still having trouble connecting, or have you gotten in yet? Just let me know how you're doing. And if anybody would like to add any qualities to the chat box, that would be great. So what we're going to do, how is everybody doing? Does everybody need a little more time? It's always easier when I do this in person because I can see when people stop writing. So just let me know if you're doing good, if you need a little bit more time. So what we're going to do is to take out, here we go, intelligent, creative, well-spoken, and strong. Those are great attributes, Susan. Thank you for that. Now what we're going to do is take out our 3x5 card and write these up to seven attributes, one on each line on your, what we call the cue card in the cue process for the cue coaching. So write down up to 7 qualities on your 3x5 card. And then once you do that, I'd like you to add to the top of your 3x5 card, or if you want to put it on a piece of paper and transfer that later, this is who I have come here to be. And this really is who you have come here to be, because you would not be able to, yeah, Joan, why don't you hit that reconnect button and see if that helps? Thanks for letting me know. So this really is who you have come here to be, because you would not recognize qualities in other people that you did not have in yourself. So we want to keep our cue card handy. We want to keep it with us. And every now and then when you're in a situation, you can look at it and you can say, what quality on my cue card could I use right now to help me in this situation? And in fact, I have an example here. Christine took my workshop a while ago. And she said that after doing the cue card awareness exercise, she was facing a challenge at work. And she was feeling heavy and uncomfortable. And then she looked at her cue card and she immediately knew how to approach the challenge. And she knew exactly what to do in the situation. And she ended up that she felt happy and proud about the way she handled it. So Christine was able to turn a challenge into a solution because she was able to look at the qualities on her cue card and respond differently. And that's really what your cue card is all about. That's really what we would like to use our cue card for. So now that we've created our cue card, it's time to build a new dream for the new year. And it's been said that the quality of our life is determined by the quality of the questions that we ask. Most of us are taught to ask questions that keep us thinking small, like how am I going to get to the end of the month and pay my bills? When we really want to think more empowering questions like, how do I travel to the south of France and earn $10,000 doing that? And that's an interesting example, because that's an example I received from my mentor, Mary Morrissey. And she had been saying that for a number of years. And she was actually in the south of France. And she said to her husband, Joe, where are we? And he said, well, we're in France. And she said, what am I doing here? He said, well, you're speaking. She said, yeah, I am earning $10,000 to speak, and I'm in the south of France. So this is one of the ways that you can use the questions that you ask and hold those questions and eventually live into those questions. So we want to make sure that we turn our dreams into reality. In order to do that, it takes a little bit of defining. The most successful people on the planet have learned to use their mind in a particular way that allows them to skyrocket their results. So if we look at a problem, we want to know that the problem is never the problem. The problem is always our thinking about the problem. And dream building starts with our thinking. Everything is created twice, first in thought and then in reality. The chair that you're sitting on, the light in the room that you're in, the house, the computer that you're using, or the cell phone that you're using for this webinar was first a thought in somebody's mind, and then it was brought into reality. And Wallace Wattles, who wrote some amazing books back in the early 1900s, said that thinking is the hardest thing in the world to do, and that's why most people don't do it. So what keeps us from living our dream, what keeps us living by default, or with a just let's see what happens attitude versus design? One of the ways is our personal paradigms, or the way we were raised. I'm not sure how many of you know how elephants are trained. Elephants, when they're young, they put a really big chain around their ankle and stake it into the ground. And the elephant learns that when they feel that tug of the chain, that they are not able to, no matter how hard they pull, they're not able to go in that direction. So once they are trained in that, having the chain and learning the pull so that they know which direction to go to, they replace that chain with riverweed. And at that point, the elephant really could easily break through that riverweed and go in any direction it wanted to. And yet, because of the way it was brought up and the way it was trained, it knew when it felt that little tug that it was meant to go in a different direction. So it just keeps following based on that little tug of riverweed. Another way that we are kind of get stuck in our thinking is what some people call race consciousness or collective consciousness. If we look at these magazine covers, these Time magazine covers, this is what we're bombarded with every day. The economy, smog, war in the Middle East, all of these things that are taking place, we see this every single day. And the thing about these magazine covers is that every single one of these is at least 30 years old. So think about it. We have been in the same conversation for at least 30 years. So think about the effect that has on you, being bombarded with this every single day in the news and everywhere you go. James Allen was also an amazing writer. And in As a Man Thinketh, he says, just as a gardener cultivates his plot, keeping it free from weeds, and growing the flowers and fruits which he requires, so may man tend to the garden of his mind. So we want to be constantly planting seeds and pulling weeds of our thoughts. And one of my clients, Anna Kay, was in a project that she was doing and ran into a little bit of a snag. And she immediately went to her old way of doing things. And then because we were coaching, she changed her thoughts. She changed her thoughts from what was I thinking to how can I learn from this? And she was able to move forward in the face of fear and doubt. She was able to pull the weeds of self-doubt and plant the seeds of her dream. And she had a very successful project. So are you ready? Are you ready for something bigger? Are you ready to use your thoughts to define your dream? This is where we're going to need another piece of paper. So I encourage you to get a piece of paper out, and we'll be going on with this. So when you're defining your dream, the most important question to ask is, what would I love? Not what do I think I can do? Not what do other people think I can do, but what would I love? And we want to pay attention to our longings and our discontents. Our longings are what we want more of. Our discontent is what we want less of. And sometimes our longings speak louder, and sometimes our discontent speaks louder. And just know there is a you seeking to emerge through you. It's seeking an ever freer, fuller, more expanded expression through you. Just like inside an acorn is an oak tree, ready to seek fuller expression. And both our longings and our discontent informs our conscious mind. So right now, I would like to put my finger on the pulse of this group. Let's dig in here. So if you think about your longings and discontents in your life right now, we're going to take a look at the four main quadrants of your life and see where you are in these areas. So with respect to health, Have you been trying to lose that last 10 pounds for the last 3 years? And what about relationships? Are you looking for that special someone, or do you want more harmony in your relationships, especially with your family? And then if we move on to career or creative expression, are you in a dead-end job where your talents are being wasted? And then lastly, we look at the amount of free time and money that you have right now. So you love your job and you haven't been able to take a vacation for 2 years. If you could wave a wand, those are examples of some areas that my clients have struggled with in these 4 areas. So if you could wave a magic wand and fix something, what would it be? Something in your life right now. What does the longing and discontent sound like? And if you feel like everything is okay, think about going from good to great. Remember, the enemy of great is good. So if you went from good to great, what would that look like? What would that be like? Do you want to stay in the same place for the next 10 years, or would you love to grow and be happier? So in the chat box, just write down your number 1 area of struggle or discontent that you haven't been able to shift. Or maybe you could go, what you could use to go from good to great if there is no struggle for you right now. So just write down something that is on your mind right now that you would really love to change. Okay, let's continue. So when we think in pictures, we want to draw, when we're designing our dream, we want to draw as vivid a picture as we can. We want to let our imagination go. Oh, good, Susan wants a romantic relationship. Great. I'm waiting to hear from the rest of you. I know you're out there. I can see you there. So this, I would like to, as much as I can, make this interactive. I know it can't be truly interactive because the only way you can communicate with me is through the chat box. So I encourage you to type things into the chat box. So we all have an imagination. And if you think you don't have an imagination, then I'll just ask you, if your partner or a loved one was 2 hours late and you could not reach them, your imagination would go wild. So saying you don't have an imagination, you may think you don't, and you really do. So you want to state your dream as approach goals versus avoidance goals. For example, if I say, don't think about the Statue of Liberty. Don't think of her out there in the harbor. Don't think of her with her arm up in the air. What are you thinking about? You're thinking about the Statue of Liberty. Joan wants to restart her creativity. And you know, Joan, you do have some great creativities. I think I've read all of your books. I think I have all of your books, and I love the autographed copies that I have. So cool. I encourage you to keep being creative. So we want to, as we do approach goals versus avoidance goals, for example, we want to say that we live in financial abundance versus getting out of debt. Move with comfort and ease versus no more back pain. Enjoy living at my ideal weight versus losing weight. And you want to put it in the present tense. I am so happy and grateful now that, as if it's happening now. And you want to make it a 3-year vision to trick your ego into staying silent. If you say, this is what I want to accomplish this year, your ego is going to remind you of all of those times that you had those New Year's resolutions, and come February, March, they were all falling by the wayside. So your ego really doesn't know what you can accomplish in 3 years. So by saying 3 years, that will help keep your ego silent. So we're going to do an experiment right now in which we become more aware of, we become more aware. Sorry, I was trying to get back to my music there. We become more aware of consciousness of our dreams. So I invite you to close your eyes if you're comfortable and take a deep breath. And imagine in your lap is a book, and every page is a day in your life. And there are lots of pages on the right and on the left. And on the left, every page is written on with the wonderful memories of your life so far. And on the right is all blank with white pages. You have been given the power. You have been given the authority. Will these pages be written by design or by default? This is your moment. Gazing from the highest point of view you can take. Look down at the landscape of your current life. So you can open your eyes again now. And we're going to need another piece of paper to do this. So we're going to explore the 4 or 5 main areas of your life. So we want to write down our dream because writing down our vision dramatically increases our chances of obtaining it. So if we look at health or well-being, just for a moment, call forth that image. What is your image of health? How do you feel in your body? What activities do you engage in? What do you eat? What does your skin look like? What would you love? And with relationships, are you longing to deepen existing relationship? Have more harmony? Have a deep, loving relationship with that special someone. What would that relationship look like? Is there any discontent? Is there any discord that needs to be resolved? What would you love? Now, if we look at our creative expression or vocation, what kind of work would you love to do in the world? How do you see yourself expressing your gifts? How do you make your job more fun? What would you love? And what about the amount of time and money you have in your life? What would you love in terms of the flow of money in your life? What would you do with that money? Go on a trip? Have the home you've always wanted? Give in ways you've always wanted to give? And how do you spend your time? Is there enough to do what you want? What would you love? And if you're so inclined, I would encourage you to add spirituality. I always include spirituality in my vision because my faith is very important to me. So what does your spiritual life look like? What do you believe? How do you express your faith? Do you meditate? Do you pray? How do you share your spiritual gifts with the world? What would you love? Okay, now if we look at your list, at your vision, were there any surprises? If there were any surprises that showed up while you were doing that, just type it in the chat box so we can see what may have been a surprise for you. W.H. Murray has this to say: whatever you can do or dream you can do, begin it, because boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. So begin it now. So we want to go about, the next step would be testing our dream. So you may ask yourself, how do I know this dream is right for me? Is it worthy of me? Is it the highest possibility for me? So imaginally step into your dream and ask yourself these 5 questions. Does it give me more life? Does it align with my core values? Does it cause me to grow? Does it require a power bigger than me? If you know how to get to your dream, then it's not big enough. Make it bigger. You want to be so big that you don't know how to get there. And the last one is there good's in it for others. And even if their dream is to find the love of your life and you think that may not have any goodness in it for others, think about how you feel when you see 2 people in love. Seeing 2 people in love is a gift for everyone. So just look at these questions and step into your vision and ask yourself. If you say yes to these 5 questions, then you're saying yes to your vision. And you really, at this stage in your vision, you want to be careful who you share it with. You want to share it only with people who will truly support you. You could share it with somebody and they may think they're doing you a favor by questioning. They may even just raise their eyebrow and you start to doubt and wonder if this is the correct way to go. So next we're going to be talking about deciding for a dream. Deciding for your dream requires commitment and a willingness to get bigger than your circumstances and bigger than those around you may think of you. It requires a willingness to live from a larger truth of who you are, from the greatness within you. There was a high school kid whose father was a horse trainer, so he moved around a lot. And he finally got to his senior year in high school. And in one of his classes, he was asked to write down his vision of what he wanted to be when he kind of grew up. So he really put his heart and soul into it, and he really described it vividly. He wanted to have a horse ranch that was a certain acreage, with a barn that was a certain size, and a running pen where the horses could go out and run. And the house, he had a big great room, and he had a certain number of rooms, and it was just, he went into this vivid detail of what he wanted and how he wanted to live his life. And he was really proud of his paper, and he turned it in and he got it back, and there was a big F on it with the word "see me." So he went to his teacher and he said, "What's going on? I don't get it." And his teacher said to him, "You know, with your background, with you traveling all over the place, you haven't been in the same high school. You haven't been in the same school for more than 2 years at a time. This kind of vision really is going to take a lot of money. Do you really think that you can accomplish this?" And the teacher said, "Now, if you take this back and rewrite it and bring it in tomorrow, I'll change your grade." So the kid went home and he talked to his father and he said, "You know, Dad, I don't know what to do. Should I change it? What should I do?" And his father said to him, "You know, that's really up to you. You're the only one that can decide what to do." So the next day he took the paper back in as written, and he said to his teacher, "You can keep my grade. I am going to keep my dream." And the interesting thing is, I'm getting chills just now thinking about this, is this story was being told in a horse ranch with a barn, with a house of a certain size. It was that kid, and he had accomplished his dream. And the really interesting thing was that a few years ago, not a few years, but a few months before that, his high school teacher came through with a group of students. He liked to have students come and share his dream with students. And his teacher took him aside and said, um, his teacher took him aside and said to him, I am so glad that you didn't listen to me. I killed a lot of dreams back then. So I am so glad that you had the strength to keep your dream. So we want to make sure that we're deciding for your dream. Now, if you're ready to make a commitment to your dream, type yes in the chat box. Okay, so we've defined our dream. We've tested it to make sure it's worthy of us. We've decided for our dream. Now, how do we actually step into our dream and become it? My mentor, Mary Morrissey, says, you cannot get to your dream, you must come from it. And in order to come from it, you must become it. So let's see how some famous dream builders changed the circumstance of their life and put on their dream and manifested it into reality. First, we have Henry Ford. Henry Ford had the dream of an internal combustion engine and a car that was affordable to the middle class, even though his engineers at the time told him an internal combustion engine wasn't possible. And the Wright brothers had a vision of a flying machine. And even though there were many people which had many more people and much more money devoted to the same thing, the Wright brothers kept on, and the Wright brothers accomplished it. And then there's Martin Luther King Jr., who had a dream of equality and justice for everyone. And most recently, we have Diana Nyad, who had a vision, a dream to swim from Cuba to Florida without a shark cage. And finally, at the age of 64, at the fifth attempt, she accomplished it. And then we have you. You are a dream builder, and you can accomplish anything that you set your mind to do. Muhammad Ali says, champions are not made in gyms. Champions are made from something they have deep inside them, a desire, a dream, a vision. So let's see how we can put on our dream. One way of doing that is to tune into the vision of your dream, the frequency, with all five senses. Use all five senses to put on that life. What does it smell like? What does it sound like, feel like, look like, taste like? Allow yourself to feel it with your entire body and allow yourself to put on that life. What does this person do, say, eat, wear? Who does this person hang around with? What kind of conversations do you have? How does this person walk out the door in the morning? What does this person watch on TV? What does this person read? So I would like you to step into your vision and put on that person and stay in that feeling of being that person. So how did that feel? Just write in the chat one word about how it felt to step into that person and to become that person. So now that we've had the experiment of putting on that person, see if there's anything that as you were doing that changed in your vision. It's much easier to change your vision now while it's new than 3 months down the road. So if there's anything that came to you while you were in that process of putting on your vision, just write that down now. Just jot that down. And then after you make those last minute changes, your dream is really meant to be evergreen. It's not meant to be cast in concrete. So you're going to want to visit it periodically and see what can be changed. So you want to say this or something better still. So at the bottom of the paper, write this or something better still. And this will hold it into the open hands of different possibilities coming to you. Because if you just said, this is the way it is, then the possibilities, you might not see other things that have come to you. So you always want to keep it in the open hand. And if at some point you want to change it, you want to make sure that you change it from something better as opposed to out of fear. You never want to change your dream or your vision out of fear. And I use vision and dream interchangeably because some people resonate better with dream and some people resonate better with dream. So now that you've written it down, you've done this or something better still. There was a gentleman that went into a bank to cash a check. So he went to the teller and he said, will you cash this check for me? And the teller said, sure, just put your name on the check, sign your name, give me the check, and I will give you your money. And the gentleman said, whoa, whoa, whoa. You want me to sign my name and give you the check? And the teller said, yeah, that's our policy. I cannot give you money until you sign the check. And the guy says, well, what if I sign the check and give it to you and you don't give me my money? And the bank teller said, that's policy. That's the way it works. There's no other way it can work. So they went back and forth a few times. And the teller finally said, you know, I can't help you. If you want, you could try a bank down the street and see if they'll cash the check. So he went to the second bank, same thing, back and forth. Third bank, same thing. Fourth bank, they're going back and forth a little bit. And then the teller reaches under the cabinet and grabs a Nerf bat and bonks him in the head. He says, sign the check. So he signs the check, he gets his money, and he goes back to that first bank and he said, see, down the street, they gave me my money. And the teller said, yeah, but I bet even down the street you had to sign your check, right? He said, yeah, but they explained it a little bit different than you did. So we want to sign our name to it. So at the bottom, under this or something better still, you want to put your name and the date. You want to sign your name to it, and you really want to believe in that dream. And that's what signing your name and date to it is taking ownership of that dream. So write in the chat one word that describes how it felt for you to sign your name to your dream. Haha, what does haha mean? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Does that feel good to sign your name to your dream? Oh, it's the haha to the bank story. Okay, big commitment. Yes, it is. If your dream is worthy, then you want to make sure that you keep your dream. Okay. So as I mentioned before, I have an offer for everyone who is here. I have an offer for those of you who are ready to take action on your dream. Between my speaking and my coaching, I set aside a limited number of slots for vision discovery assessments. And these are a 30-minute phone conversation where we get clear assessment on exactly where you are, what you would love to create, and the next most important step that you can take to move in the direction of your dream. And this assessment is normally valued at $250, but I'm offering it complimentary to anybody today. And there's only 10 sign slots. So if you're interested in following through on this, make sure you hit that register button in the offer box. So imagine this is an experiment and 3 years come and go. What if these were the best 3 months of your 3 months come and go? What if these were the best 3 months of your life? If you make a 1-degree shift now, you will be in a whole new place in 3 months. So how would it be for you to start 2017 on a clear path to your dream? And that's really what I'm offering. If this is something that interests you, I encourage you to sign up now. And if you're not one of the first 10 that sign up, then just shoot me an email and we'll see what we can do. So how do we shift our mindset so that we can stay connected to our dream? One of the ways that we can do that is with Mind PT. Mind PT is my 3rd coaching certification. And Mind PT is a made for you movie. It combines affirmations, pictures, and music. It allows you to vary the speed and to add your own affirmations, your own pictures, and watching it 3 minutes a day can change your mindset for up to 6 to 8 hours. So everybody that I know that has worked with Mind PT says they have noticed things immediately. They feel calmer, they're more relaxed. And I like to watch sessions every day. So Mind PT is just one of the ways that you can use to help shift your mindset. And that's a really good one that I like to use. You may have other ways of doing that. So how do we move forward with our dream? Your mind is like a rubber band, and it's going to want to go back and pick up those old ideas, those old thoughts, and your paradigms are going to start talking to you. As soon as you make a change in your life, or even think about making a change, your paradigms are going to kick in. And your paradigms are just standard operating procedures, so to speak. It's your results thermostat. It's a collection of habits based on beliefs about ourselves and our world that generate our circumstances, experience, and results. And it's really a standard perception or a set of ideas, a way of looking at things. And most likely, if you hear yourself saying because or yeah, but, then it's most likely a paradigm. And your ego would rather have you be miserable than to change. So that's why when you go to make a change, your paradigm starts speaking to you. It may say that you don't really have the time right now. You don't have the money. If you just finish doing this one project that you're working on, then you'll be better able to accomplish these other things. So you really want to pay attention to that. So there are 2 ways to change a paradigm: a strong emotional or a physical impact, or proactively. Proactively, you do that by creating a vision. And this is what we're doing now. And you also want to find a structure of support. And this keeps you in that upward spiral of becoming. And you want to have a mentor, someone who can help organize your thinking, your goals, and move you from potential to results with a proven track record. Someone who deeply cares about you. And you don't really have to hit rock bottom before you have a mentor. So this will allow you to take inspired action. And Alan Deutschman, in the book Change or Die, said that 9 out of 10 people don't change their lifestyle, even if their life depended on it, unless they have the support of a coach. So how do we do that? How do we change or reframe our paradigm? We are the only species on Earth that can change our environment. And we do that by changing our thoughts. So how do we change our thoughts? The first thing that we want to do is to notice what you're noticing. Notice your thoughts. Are they empowering, are they disempowering? Do they want you to lead you to do more or to do less? If they're empowering, lean into them and see what else comes to you. If they're disempowering, then stop them and see how you can change them so that they'll become more empowering. So we want to change our thoughts. And by changing our thoughts, we can change our outcome. And we do this by taking action. Taking action when you're reframing your paradigm is like the ground wire in electricity. Electricity doesn't work without a ground wire. So taking that action, changing your thoughts, asking, what can I do today? And taking that action will help to reframe your paradigm. And I have just one story about how I used a paradigm reframe to change my thoughts, change my outcome. I'm not sure how many of you were here a year ago, November. There was a storm that some people called Snowmageddon. I called it Snowmageddon. Some people called it Snowvember or the knife. There was south of Buffalo, there was this wall of snow. And I live behind that wall. In one day, I received 5 feet of snow. So this is a picture of the front of my garage. And below that mound of snow, there's 3 cars in a line. Luckily, we have a neighbor who has a bobcat, and he came through and dug out everybody's driveway. But going out and shoveling, just from my front door to where he was able to plow the driveway, took me almost an hour. And I was frustrated. I came back in feeling frustrated and feeling defeated. And I sat down and I said, I can't do this. And I started sending texts to everybody that I knew saying, when they lift the driving ban, you have to come and help me. So as I was sending out all of these texts, I remembered my New Year's resolution to have fun. So in that moment, I made a decision to change my thoughts. I decided to make it more fun. So I decided that my daughter and I would go out in 20 minutes at a time. We would shovel and we would find a way to make it fun. At one point, Megan came back into the house full of snow laughing. And I said, Megan, what happened? And she said, I tried to make a snow angel and I got stuck and almost couldn't get up. So even with 5 feet of snow burying your car, you can find ways to have fun. So doing this 20 minutes at a time, each of us rotating through it. By the end, actually, it was almost the very moment they lifted the driving ban, both of our cars were uncovered and our driveway was open so that we could leave now that it was able for we had the ability to drive. So things happen that we cannot control. We cannot change our circumstances, but we can change how we relate to those circumstances. And here's another example of one of my clients who said she really had no idea how negative her thoughts were until she started coaching. They were just there unrecognized. And now she has learned to reframe her paradigms, to replace her thoughts with something more positive. And the events of her life are changing for the positive. And here's another great quote by W.H. Murray. He says, until one is committed, there is hesitancy and a chance to draw back concerning all acts of initiative. The moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too, and all sorts of things occur to help one that never would have otherwise occurred. And this is what I call magic. And I love magic. I love Harry Potter. On the other hand, magic isn't really magic. It really takes something. It may look like magic to the others, but the other people really don't see the steps that you're taking and the commitment that you're making and the actions that you're taking towards your dream. So we want to make sure that we stay in that, we take the actions, we stay committed to our dream, and we let other people see our magic. So where do we go from here? How do we make these resolutions or goals easy? We want to fuel our desire. We want to increase our believing. And we want to surround ourselves with support. And to fuel your desire, you want to live from your vision. You want to be that person. You want to put that person on. Ask yourself every day, if this is who I am, what would I be doing today? And you want to look at your cue card. Look at the qualities on your cue card and see how that you can use those qualities in every situation that you run into. And then you want to use Mind PT to help shift your mindset. And then you also want to find at least one thing to be grateful for. Gratitude is at the same level of frequency as abundance. And what I mean by frequency is, did you ever walk into a room where people are fighting and you could feel that tension and you almost feel like you want to start fighting too? And then think about what it feels like to walk into a room where everybody is happy and laughing. We want to stay on the frequency, on the vibration of our vision, our dream, so that things that we might not have otherwise seen will be able to see. So we want to increase our believing. And one of the best ways to do that is to just shift our paradigm. And then ground it with action. And then if we look at surrounding ourselves with support, you want to have partners in believing. You want to have people that believe in you when you have a hard time believing in yourself. In fact, one of my partners in believing is on this call right now. Elaine has been a partner in believing for me for, I would say, 3 years, close to 3 years now. So you always want to surround yourself with people who believe in you. And then you want to have a mentor and you want to have a coach. I have all three of these things. And in fact, as long as I am coaching, I will have a coach. So these are the ways that we can make our New Year's resolutions easy. You can make a resolution at any time. You want to start where you are with what you have and ask yourself every single day, what can I do today to take a step in the direction of my dream? And then ask yourself, what would I do if I knew it were at least possible? And then take that step. There was a college kid who went home on vacation, his first vacation of the year. And his father just seemed really depressed. He wouldn't talk, he kept to himself. And he was the first generation in 3 who went on to college. His father, his grandfather, and great-grandfather were barbers, and his father ran a barber shop in town. So eventually the son went to him and said, Dad, what's going on? You're not yourself. You're just different. You seem really depressed. And his father said to him, there's a new hair cutting place in town. They sell $6 haircuts. I can't compete with that. I'm going to have to close the shop. And the son said to him, I'm taking this class in creative problem solving. So let's just do an exercise of this practice that I learned in class. So what we're going to do is we're just going to brainstorm everything that we can think of that you could do to keep the shop open. And so let's go. We'll just write everything down. We don't want to, judge anything, just brainstorm. Whatever comes to you, we're going to write down. And the first thing the father said is, well, I can close the shop. And the son said, yeah, you can do that, but let's keep going. Let's just write down everything that we can think of. And within 15 minutes, they had an idea that they both thought would help the father. And when he came back on his next break, his father was a different person. He was even happier than he ever remembers seeing him his whole life. And he said, Dad, it looks like this is working. And his father said, yeah, my sales are up 20% than they have been ever. So what do you think it is that they came up with that the father could do to increase his sales? What they did is they put a sign on top of his barber shop that said, we fix $6 haircuts. So you want to stay in that place of being open to ideas. And that's really why we want to say this or something better still as part of our vision, so that we're always sort of scanning the horizon for something better, something that could make us accomplish what we wanted to a little bit easier. And this is another client of mine who is having great results. And she said, would I have found my way on my own? My answer is no. So she's having great accomplishments. And she's accomplishing great things because she said yes to her dreams and she asked for support. I don't know how many of you watch Indiana Jones at all, but there was the one show where he was in it with his father, and he, in fact, I think the scene is called Bridge of Faith, where he has this book and it shows a bridge going across this chasm, and he doesn't know what to do. He's thinking, you know, what should I do? And he eventually steps out, and as he steps out, the next piece of the bridge appears. He steps again, the next piece of the bridge appears, and he steps and keeps stepping, and he gets all the way across, and on pure faith. So you want to take that step in faith and see where it leads you. And Howard Thurman, I almost said Thurman Thomas. I got the Bills on my mind because they won today. Howard Thurman said, don't do what you think the world needs. Do what makes you come alive, because what the world needs is more people who come alive. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to take our dream and we're going to make it come alive. So I want to thank you for attending. It's been a real joy to serve you. I love teaching this material, breathing life into your dreams and holding a safe place for us to think bigger. And I would love supporting you and getting you from where you are now to creating the life you would love living. And I know from years of experience in this field that when you leave this webinar, life happens. And you get busy. And over the next year, statistically, 80% of you are going to create the same type of results you've had over the last year. However, some of you know you're ready to invest in your dream. And for those of you who are ready to accelerate your dreams and manifest your dream, click on that registration button and sign up for a complimentary vision discovery assessment. I would really love to support you in this way. So before we end, if you could just type in the chat box one word to describe how you feel right now. Now we're going to go back to me being live. So I want to thank you for being here. It's my privilege to support you in this way. And you want to go forth this week and remember who you truly are. There's greatness in you. This is your moment. This is your time. And remember that as you go forward this week, remember to live bravely, love boldly, and go after your dream. So I want to thank you for attending. And anybody that is still here, I have this special gift. I'm going to be sending everybody an email with directions on how to download Mind PT. And you will also get 3 free sessions, which is a $147 value. So I want to thank everybody for attending today. And Susan is motivated, Joan is enlightened, and I know there are other people out there who may be a little bit shy right now. So thank you for coming, and thank you for participating, and just keep up with your vision. Ask yourself every day, what can I do today to move me in the direction of my dream? So again, thank you for coming. It's been great. I love doing this work. And if you have any questions at all, just let me know. So I'm going to be ending this right now. So it may be ending abruptly. So thank you for coming again. And I'm glad you enjoyed the webinar, and stay in touch. I will be staying in touch with you too. So thank you.